Pranam, and it's always a pleasure to be on Citti because you are the best. The others are the rest. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much for that, Deepak ji. So we'll jump right ahead, right into this.
Yeah.
I started with talking about Dawood Ibrahim's alleged poisoning, and so let's start with that because there it's alleged still, and there's a lot of secrecy, a lot of it's all very nebulous. But it's being pretty much. A lot of people are saying that he's very likely dead. This also comes in the heels of similar deaths of similar unsavory characters, all of whom have been Bharat's
By,
enemies.
killed by unknown persons.
Unknown gunmen, unknown. Well, in this case, poisoning. What are your thoughts about this?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for this brilliant question. Now, as far as this character is concerned, Dawood, whatever his name is, we've been hearing about his death for a long time. But this time there's something which I have been thinking about. First of all, I'm 72 years young, and that joker would be in his late 60s. There have been reports from time to time that he had issues with hypertension, he had diabetes. One of his brothers some years ago died of cancer. Apparently, cancer runs in the family. The brother wanted to come to India for treatment because Pakistan knows nothing about cancer. He wasn't able to come, so he died. Then a former prime minister of Pakistan, not so Sharif Badmash or something like that, I forget his name. And this not so Sharif fellow has been saying that we want to talk to India. If you want to talk to India, India says talks and terror cannot go together. So if you want to talk, eliminate the terror. Then what happens is that their army chief rushes off to Washington, D.C. I believe he's been told there that, look, you move away from China because we don't like the Chinese. You might see India as a threat. We don't think so because India has never attacked you. It's you who has attacked and you've used our weapons. So come to us, move away from China and make up with India because you are wasting too much of your energy on trying to counter India, whereas you should be using that to contain China. Now we understand you've taken a lot of money from China, etc., etc. What if you don't pay it back? Man, people talk about countries being in a debt trap, but the bank, also known as China, is in a credit trap. That if these countries don't pay you back, well, what are you going to do? Send in your military, and your soldiers are pretty useless. They are chocolate cream soldiers. They don't know how to fight, as we have proved time and again. So my own feeling is that the Americans have told them that, buddy, you've always been very friendly with us because when we give you money, we really don't care about how you spend it, whether you buy a house in Washington or in London or in Paris, your generals, that is to say. And you, Munir, are also going to retire soon. So therefore, buy yourself some property somewhere. We'll give you so much of money, take your percentage, but stop messing around with India. I believe that's the message. And therefore, we have this news coming up, being suppressed, coming up about Dawood Ibrahim being dead and several other terrorists. So the idea is to tell the world that, look, we are tough on terrorists and we're telling the world we don't know who's doing it, but between you and me, shh, we are doing it. And so, that's the kind of thing that they would have done. Because a time comes when you use terrorists as an asset. There's a time that comes when you find no more use for them. They become a liability. I've been ambassador to 6 countries and I've seen this, where someone is told that, look, you have to handle this very important portfolio. The government can't do it because we need plausible deniability. So you please volunteer to do all these nasty things. And of course, we'll protect you. So the fellow does the nasty things. And then he goes to the government and says, all right, now what about the millions that you promised me? They kind of look at him and say, did we? We don't remember. But anyway, go home and we'll discuss it. And when he gets into his car to go home, a truck comes and the rest is history then. So this is what seems to be happening there. And I've always said that the people who are not loyal to their own country, like this Ibrahim character, who used to carry an Indian passport that we revoked, now probably has several Pakistani passports. Those who are not loyal to their blood, to their land, तो हम लोग ये कहते हैं सनातन धर्म में कि इनको इनकी मातृभूमि की मट्टी भी नसीब नहीं होगी. He'll be buried and forgotten somewhere in Pakistan. And so we reach a point where these characters who betray their own country are told, keeping you alive is no benefit to us. Letting you die is no loss to us. And this seems to be the philosophy in Pakistan now. I personally believe that he's been dead for a while. The Pakistanis are pretty good at hiding the truth. You might recall a character called Mullah Omar, that chap from Afghanistan. And he had been dead for 2 or 3 years before the Pakistanis acknowledged that the character was dead. They continued to issue messages in his name. And so all these kinds of things they are pretty adept at doing. So what we have a strong feeling, and those in my circle who I communicate with, that this fellow has been dead for some time.
Okay.
Now it has been announced because after their army chief's visit to Washington, D.C., where he was told that, buddy, now you come to our side as you always have been with us, and let's together beat up China, or at least defeat China's intentions in this area. And to do that, to focus on China, you have to make up with India. So we want you to do that. He said, yes, of course, we are willing to talk to India. That not so Sharif Badmash, the fellow who was former prime minister and has come back to Pakistan, he says the same thing. We want to talk to India. But India says talks and terror can be done, can't go together. And therefore, the option to Pakistan is to eliminate terror. And one by one, these characters are dying, apparently being shot by unknown gunmen. I don't believe that is true. They are being eliminated by the Pakistani establishment, because when a person becomes a liability, an embarrassment, the best is to send him to the waiting 72 virgins in paradise or wherever these jokers go.
They're in short supply though.
Exactly. I think he has been sent there so that now the Pakistanis, who for 60 years have been known throughout the world as a hotbed of terror, now they can turn around and say, listen, guys, we've reformed, we've seen the light, we've become very good fellows, and so now please forgive us and please make friends with us. You see, all these nasty chaps, we are bumping them off one by one. I believe that is the intention. So this man has gone. And ultimately, as we learn in diplomacy about countries like this, they reach a point when they tell a fellow that they had thought they could use against somebody else or against his mother country, that now keeping you alive is no benefit to us. Your death is no loss to us.
Wow.
So go away. And this happens so often in history. I've seen it in the course of my career. Sometimes people are exploited. They are made to do things which the regime will not, because they want deniability. And after he has done what he was asked to do, and then he wants some kind of payback,
Right.
then he's sent to the virgins
Dispensed
in
with.
paradise.
But don't you think Pakistan finds itself in a quandary because it can't own up to Dawood, right? Because
Yeah.
it has been
If they
denied.
say that he's dead, it means he was there.
Right.
They've been denying this, although some years ago they sent a list to the UN talking about wanted terrorists living in Pakistan, and this fellow's name was also there. Then they said, oh, sorry, it was a typing error. Well, happy birthday. I mean, you don't make these typing errors. You know, they're a very difficult situation because, one, the economy is tanking. Nobody is willing to give them money, not the World Bank, not the IMF. And because of the stamp of terror, people are staying away. The Saudis have said, brother, get your act together, no more. The Chinese are very generous when it comes to Pakistan. All right, buddies, here's 5 billion for you today. Tomorrow we are taking it back because that's what you owe us. And so nothing actually ever comes. That so-called China-Pakistan exploitation, not exploitation, economic corridor, that is dead. And 90% of those projects are gone.
Yeah.
They did complete some low-hanging fruit, some power projects. And then they suddenly discovered during the previous government that the Chinese had cheated them like hell, overcharged them 6 times for the projects compared to what the international pricing was. So they realized that China is a ruthless predator, is no friend of theirs. Now that leaves them with the United States and Europe. Europe has its own issues because a lot of their money is going to Ukraine. Even that has been blocked now by Hungary. And Hungary's argument was, why are we wasting this money? The United States, as it is, has this uh, difference between the Republicans and the Democrats on giving money to Ukraine. But they're saying that first sort out the border issue with Mexico, etc., etc. So therefore, Pakistan is in a pretty much difficult situation. This is not the best time. World global debt is, probably $1 trillion or more. Where do you get the money from? Who's going to give it to you? And therefore, now you have to try and reduce your expenditure, which is the world is saying. Financial Action Task Force thing is hanging on their necks. Nobody is investing in that country. The Pakistanis themselves are not remitting the huge amounts they used to earlier. The news has just come in that remittances to India in 2023 have been 125 billion US dollars. Now, this is the largest ever. This is the largest in our history, and it's twice as much as the second country gets from its expatriates in remittances. So this shows a level of trust in India. It's going to upset some people that the Indian diaspora, which is so strong and powerful and rich, still has total faith in India. In fact, they have much more faith now than they did some time ago. So we are seeing this trend, and Pakistan, I believe, would have learnt its lesson that terrorism doesn't help. Ultimately, it'll come back like the monster created by Dr. Frankenstein.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.